This 14-year-old boy turned Rome into chaos. 2,000 years ago, the most powerful and most brutal empire in the world was the Roman Empire. In that Roman Empire in the Syrian city of Emesa, a boy was born whose real name was Sextus Varius Avitus Bassianus. Emesa was a place where people worshipped a black stone as the embodiment of the sun god. Sextus's family were the high priests of that temple, and from childhood, Sextus was treated as a form of a god. At that time, the emperor of Rome was Caracalla, a ruthless and military-minded ruler. But in 217 AD, Caracalla was murdered. His own bodyguard stabbed him to death on the road. Sextus's grandmother Julia Maesa, who was Caracalla's aunt, spread a lie within the Roman army. She claimed that Sextus was Caracalla's real son. People took it as a sign from God and believed it because Sextus was already worshipped like a divine figure in Syria. And just like that, at only 14 years old, Sextus became the emperor of Rome. Rome wanted a military emperor. Instead, they got a teenage Syrian priest. As soon as he arrived in Rome, he built a temple for his god Elagabalus, the same black stone they worshipped in Syria. He declared himself the embodiment of the sun god and told everyone that he was divine. From that moment, people began calling him Elagabalus. He wanted Rome to worship only him and his god. He ordered temples destroyed. Even the statue of Rome's most powerful god, Jupiter, was removed. He forced all Roman gods to be symbolically married to his own god, the black stone he worshipped. People were shaken, but this was only the beginning. Inside his palace, nights were filled with wild and scandalous gatherings involving members of the palace and servants. At just 14, he married more than 100 times. Whoever he liked, he married, even if she was a palace servant. He even married women who were sworn to lifelong religious purity. This act shocked Rome and broke one of its most sacred traditions. Once he invited guests to his palace, and during their welcome, he showered them with so many flowers that some suffocated to death. He turned public executions into entertainment. Guards of Rome were thrown before lions. Some people were imprisoned in brutal punishment chambers, and he showed no mercy toward their suffering. For him, all of this was just entertainment. After some time, Elagabalus began to see himself as a woman and called himself a queen. He spoke about altering his body, even wanting an ancient form of sex change surgery. He declared one of his servants as his husband. He would go outside wearing makeup and women's clothing. Seeing all this, the people of Rome, the army, and everyone was tired of his madness. Even his grandmother, Julia Maesa, the woman who put him on the throne, was exhausted by his actions. So she began planning to replace him with his cousin, Alexander Severus. Julia Maesa secretly contacted the Praetorian Guards and said, "This king is a curse for Rome. Remove him and save the empire." Then one day, when Elagabalus was alone in the palace with his mother, the Praetorian Guards seized them. They dragged both of them out of the palace into the Praetorian camp where a crowd had already gathered, and what happened next was ruthless. In front of the people of Rome, Elagabalus and his mother were publicly humiliated. They were dragged across the ground as stones were thrown at them. The Praetorian Guard ended his life without mercy. His mother was killed beside him. Even after killing him, the crowd was not satisfied. His lifeless body was dragged through the streets of Rome, the same streets where he had once been worshipped. He was denied burial and ultimately discarded into the Tiber River. Think about it. A man who believed himself to be a god had his body treated like garbage. Rome did not simply kill Elagabalus. They tried to wipe him out of history.